When I first graduated from college, I was so excited to start my career, constantly creating, putting on fashion shows, being immersed in the glamour of fashion daily. But I quickly realized that being a fashion designer is so much more than that. And for some of us, it's not that at all. There's a lot about fashion that you don't learn in school or see from the outside looking in. And man, had I known at least some of these things, it would have made some others less painful. So, here are 5 things I wish I knew from day one of becoming a fashion designer. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Mikkel Drew Pelham. I talk about digital fashion design software and communication for fashion entrepreneurs on this channel. So, if that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Today's video is particularly important not only for fashion entrepreneurs, but even those of you starting your careers as a fashion designer in the industry. When you're in school, it's almost like you're in this little creative bubble, and that can be a gift and a curse. It's wonderful because you really learn to hone your creative skills, your creative vision. You learn how to take an abstract idea and translate it into something wearable. You learn how to sew, make patterns, and to build a garment. All of that is great. The reason it can also be a curse, though, is because it kind of gives you a false idea of what you actually do as a fashion designer, whether you're a designer in the corporate space or a fashion entrepreneur. And if you're new to the fashion world and haven't even experienced the behind the scenes of school, you definitely don't see what really goes on to make the fashion industry work. So let's start with the first thing I wish I'd known. If you saw this video, I talked a bit about this. The overwhelming majority of what's created and sold in the fashion industry is clothing. And there's a small sect of it that's actually considered true fashion. So while there are some people who are designing fashion, probably 8, maybe 9 out of 10 people, at least in the US market, design clothes. And listen, there is nothing wrong with that at all. You can be fashionable, artful, stylish, designing clothes that people wear every day that are more functional, more affordable. Just because you're designing clothes, it doesn't make what you do any less valuable than that person designing fashion. Some might say you're actually a little more valuable because you're designing the stuff that's keeping the lights on. The point is, many designers believe, whether you've been to art school or you're entering the industry without any previous experience, that they'll be able to create these gorgeous gowns and these wearable art pieces. But unless you're creating them for a gallery, or you maybe work for a couture house, or perhaps you're commissioned to do something special, those very artful creations are not what a company is selling, especially if you can't make multiples of them. This one was a big wow for me. I mean, I just went to school for 4 years, so I can have a creative career, trained to come up with ideas constantly, and that's not what I'm doing? Huh? Nope, you're not. I mean, don't get me wrong. You have your creative periods where you're ideating and shopping and sifting through your many ideas and trend reports and forecasts, sourcing fabrics and trims, and then sketching those ideas. Sounds like a lot of creativity, right? And it can be. But when you compare it to everything else you have to do, technical flat sketching, creating initial tech packs, creating CADs, maybe creating 3D assets, fittings, approving fabrics and trims, sitting in meetings, doing the follow-up from the meetings, updating tech packs after fittings or for production. That's a lot too. Those steps are usually pretty time consuming, and they're not nearly as fun as what you were doing during the creative period. If I were to break this up into a pie chart, I would say that the creative part of my job is a third, maybe half of what we do. And if you're a fashion entrepreneur, it's probably less than that, because you also have to concern yourself with running the business, at least until you have a partner to help you with that part. I knew there would be other things, but I was not expecting so much of my time to not be dedicated to creative tasks. spoken to other designers my age who said they knew this when they graduated, but I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention that day in school because this was news to me. I just knew that every fashion brand had some kind of fashion show during Fashion Week, but that was another myth I somehow adopted. In an Instagram post, The Business of Fashion wrote about February 2024's Fashion Week. To build a fashion business from scratch, designers have to generate excitement, but ultimately sell products. A fashion show is about marketing and generating excitement for the brand. But a lot of brands are finding that the ROI on a fashion show is not worth the expense. And especially now that there are so many other ways to generate excitement and get a buzz going around your brand, it's even less of a must than before. If you can find ways of reaching your audience and selling product without it, a fashion show is a nice to have, but certainly not a need to have. Now, look, this is not to say I'm not able to create on my own. I am, of course. This is within the confines of a design job or your own brand. When you're designing for a company, even your own company or a client, you always need to be keeping the customer in mind because ultimately, they're the ones who are going to buy your products. So if they don't like what you've designed, they're not going to buy it. And your company isn't going to be able to sustain too many seasons of people not buying before they either let you go or the company goes out of business. This is such a delicate balance because your job as a designer is to use your creative talent to design something wonderful that the customer will love. But you have to balance that creativity with designing something that the customer will love. That might mean you don't love it. Why? Because you may not be the customer, but your design choices must be tempered with your understanding of who you serve and what he, she, or they want. So that might mean that although hot pink is the color of the season and also happens to be your favorite color, if your core customer is shopping your brand for work clothes and works for a very conservative law firm, hot pink may not make it into your color palette, at least not in a big way. You might be able to get away with it with a small trim or something. But she's not showing up in head to toe hot pink. And that hot pink suit shouldn't appear on a rack in your store or on your website because you know what? That's exactly where it's going to stay because your core customer isn't buying that, at least not from you. So understand that most effective and successful fashion designers do not just create whatever they want. They're making decisions based on information about their customers, as well as other data like what sold well in previous seasons, what information they've gotten from shopping the market, competitor analyses, trend reports. And that data, balanced with their own creativity, is how they arrive at their collections each season. This is mostly what this channel is about: communicating the vision. I understood that sketching was important, but I had no idea until I started working just how important it was. How important it was for those sketches to be accurate, proportional, with clear details. And then the tech pack, how important it was for that to be clear and detailed. Once you leave school or you start producing garments in bulk, you are going to need help, even if it's just one other person. And whoever that person or persons are, they are not the designer and they are not in your head. So it's really important for you to be able to communicate the vision and to talk about the art, which for many creatives can be a little tough and even intimidating. I mean, on the one hand, you want your art to tell a visual story without you having to say anything. On the other hand, if you're creating a physical product, you have to be able to communicate what you want and how to execute your vision to the other person or people who are helping you make it. Fortunately, now that we have fashion design software like Illustrator, Photoshop, Clo 3D, Style 3D, Procreate, AI tools, that communication has become a lot easier. In 2024, the global fashion market was estimated to be worth $1.79 trillion, with the US market accounting for approximately $359 billion. Those 5 things I wish I'd known as a new designer really come down to understanding that the fashion industry is more than just creativity. And one of the things you have to do as a new designer is to learn to balance your creativity with the needs of the market and the brand. It's a tricky road to navigate, especially as a creative person, but a necessary one to exist as a working fashion designer or a profitable fashion brand within this industry. Thanks for watching today's video. If you need help learning to better communicate your art, make sure you check out one of my online digital fashion design courses. Just click the link in the description for more information. There's also a link to a free Croquis template to help you create your flat sketches if you don't already have one. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next time.